Hi, everybody. Professor Gustin here, and welcome to week 5, our last week of summer class. I'm glad you made it through. I'm glad you're still here. Assuming you'll make it through. I mean, usually by now everybody does. So good work, good effort. I know summer classes are tough, so I'm glad to still have you with us. So what I'm going to do this week, week 5, part 1, we have the lab practical. And so you're watching the introduction video. Just like I did for Lab Practical 1, I created a video on some advice on studying for Lab Practical 2. And I really believe that video on Lab Practical 1 helped you guys as a class do better than my class did last semester. And so I'm really thinking that this video should help out too. I used this same video for the class last semester, and they did pretty well on Lab Practical 2. Their grades really jumped. So I'm hoping that it will help you too. So there's the Lab Practical. Remember, it uses Respondus in the lockdown browser, and follow the instructions and all that. It covers labs 5, 6, 7, and 8. This week, we're on lab 9. So the lab material from this week is not on the Lab Practical. So I highly recommend that you do the lab practical, that you study and you do the lab practical before you do lab 9 material. Okay, so you can get your lab 9 under the lab book there, and all we have for lab 9 is a whole bunch of virtual labs. There's no lab quiz or anything, so just lots of virtual labs. So work on that for part 1, and then when we get to week 5, part 2, you're going to be doing labs 10 and 11. And there is a lab quiz for lab 10, and then and just like we did before, the labs are in your lab book. So lab 10 and 11 are there. There's a lab quiz on lab 10. The lab quiz is complete lab 10. I think this is hand washing, effectively hand washing. Yeah, so what I do for lab 10 is we do this experiment in a live class, and I took pictures of actual data that we collected in class. And the data that you will see is very consistent with the data we get when we do this in class. So there's nothing like odd or weird about the data I'm giving you. This is really typical data. So you're going to follow it through. You're going to analyze the data that I provide you with. And there's just a lab quiz on that. There are no virtual labs. Okay, so make sure you fill out your entire Lab 10 handout and then take the lab quiz with your completed handout. In addition to that, we do a little bit of unknown bacteria identification, and there's a virtual lab, and there's some materials on Lab 11 from the lab book to follow through for this. So this week we're doing week 5, part 2, we're doing labs 10 and 11. So lab 11, there's just the one virtual lab, and then there's also a lab quiz that you're going to take from the answers directly from your lab handout. Okay, so once you're done that, you are done all your lab materials for summer microbiology. Remember that everything is due on Sunday. Everything's due Sunday, June 29th. If you hand it in late, it will not record. I cannot extend your due dates because the semester is over at Sunday on June 29th. That's as long as I could extend it. So if you are unable to do these labs, it's just what it is. You can't hand in any labs late in this situation. The semester ends on June 29th, and so Monday, June 30th, I'll look at your grades, I'll crunch them, and I'll put the last grades in the lab, in the lecture Brightspace grade sheet. Okay, so when you see the column that it says lab 5 or lab week 5, that's weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all into that one column, and that should be all your lab grades. Okay, if you have any problems with a lab grade in particular, let me know as soon as possible. If you have any problems with lecture grades or your grade overall, talk to Professor Pindell. Okay? I was really happy to have you guys in class this summer. I hope the class met your expectations. And please let me know if there's anything you want me to know about the class and how it went. You can always email me. But I'm glad to have you, and glad you have microbiology under your belt. And good luck in your next adventure. Take care.